Hi everybody and welcome to the 2023 Gradcracker Webinars, and today we are featuring Sky. Sky is a household name to many of us, but what can you, our STEM students, be involved in when you apply to their opportunities? So it's worth saying that they've currently got lots of opportunities live on Gradcracker, and so they're both placements and graduate opportunities. Rochelle will introduce us to all of those a little bit later on. They've got different closing dates, so make sure you watch this webinar, taking all the information from the grads and get your applications in, because some of the deadlines are in January. So let's find out more what you can be involved in, more about your future plans at Sky, and let's meet everybody. So Rochelle, I'm going to start with you. So you are the early careers team lead. So thank you for joining us today. Can you give us a bit of an insight into all things early careers? So let's start with you. Tell everybody about you and your role at Sky.
Yes, of course. So nice to meet everyone. Hello, my name is Rochelle and I am one of the recruitment business partners within the early careers team here at Sky. So in terms of my role, I look after the recruitment for our software and technology graduate and internship opportunities.
Yeah.
I've been at Sky for now 3 years, and I must say time has flown by, but it has definitely been a brilliant journey for me.
Fantastic. And I know this webinar, so for STEM students watching, it is quite tech focused, like technology, software, DevOps, but they do have other opportunities open as well. So there's lots and lots of different types of opportunities that you can apply for. But if you just listen to the graduate journey stage, it is very tech focused. And obviously Michelle is very tech focused as well. But it's worth having a look at the hub at all of the different opportunities. So Michelle, I mentioned at the beginning that Sky is a household name, you know, everybody's heard of you, but can you give us more of an overview? So what else happens at Sky?
Yeah, sure. So for me, what I would say is Sky is a well-known giant in the entertainment industry. So we're pretty much a household brand that's recognized by millions of people across the UK and Europe.
Yeah.
So I like to say that we tend to pride ourselves on being Europe's leading entertainment company.
Yeah.
And with that, we have over 32,000 employees across 6 different countries.
Yeah.
And we also have more than 24 million customers. So as you can imagine, we're not a small company at all. We're pretty big and we are forever expanding and growing.
Yeah.
We also like to describe ourselves as innovators who deliver a wide range of products and services to our customers, from Sky TV, which most people know of, to Sky Mobile and Sky Broadband. Overall, I like to just think of us as a business that's proud, and we are also a business that definitely sees the bigger picture.
Perfect. Oh, it sounds exciting already, Rochelle. Now let's meet the grads. So if we can, we're just going to do a quick spin around the room, just to get to know, you know, put faces to names and see where they all went to university and what they studied. So Grace, you're top of my list. So can we start with you, please? Where did you go to university and what did you study?
Yeah, thanks, Violet. So yeah, I'm Grace. I studied at the Open University, so I studied part-time while I worked, and my degree is in combined STEM. So it's a Bachelor of Science where you get to pick lots of different STEM modules as they suit your interests. So I did mostly computing and mathematics and software modules.
Very interesting. So you can choose any different module from any STEM discipline that you want.
Much, yeah. As you get to the kind of higher levels, obviously there's prerequisites you had to take in first year, but yeah. So it was great. I got to pick all the interesting modules.
Exciting. Thank you very much, Grace. Ratty, on to you. So where did you go to university and what did you study?
Thanks, Carla. I studied computer science with artificial intelligence at Loughborough University. So just graduated this summer. And I guess it's pretty self-explanatory, computer science. A couple of AI modules in there, but sort of all over the place with the modules. So got a bit of everything on my belt. But
so from the AI point of view, Matty, do you get to use that part of your degree at Sky?
It's difficult to say. I think the primary thing about it being an AI course was the final year project. That was very specific to a specific API. Didn't use something as exact as this yet at work, but there is a chance to do so, and I'll talk about that later.
Ooh, watch this space. Love it. Thank you, Matty. Sorry, Matty, how long have you been at Sky?
I've just started in 1st of August, I think, was the boot camp. And then after the boot camp, in around September, I've actually started working in Sky.
Brilliant. I've heard good things about this boot camp, so I'm going to delve a little bit more about that later on. And Grace, is that the same for you? You nodded. And Brian, how long have you been at Sky, Brian?
So I started at the same time as Matty.
Perfect.
We're part of the same team essentially, so that's why we know each other.
I can tell you two have got a bond because you just encourage each other to be naughty. Okay, Brian, I'm not leaving you out. I'm coming to you next. Brian, tell me more about your university and what you studied, please.
Yep. So I did a bachelor's in computing and information technology, which is essentially 3/4 computer science and a quarter business management at the University of Surrey.
Yeah. Business management then, has that come in so far to your time at Sky?
Yep, definitely. I think as an engineer, you do also have to take into consideration both the business like objectives and goals. Yeah. And it's really easy to, it's been easier for me to understand where they're coming from when someone higher up might tell me, oh, we need to achieve XYZ goal. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense for the business. Yeah,
I think it's good, isn't it, to bring the business element in to your role, because then you've got your technical side of things that you need to think about, and then the business as a whole, which is obviously needs to keep running and projects need to keep coming through. So thank you very much, Brian. And Amber, last but not least, where did you go to university? What did you study and how long have you been at Sky?
Yeah, so hello, I'm Amber. I studied biochemistry at the University of Manchester, and I've been at Sky since the beginning of July.
Okay, so why are you July start then? How come you've been there a little bit longer?
I'm on a slightly different scheme to the others. I'm on a software engineering grad scheme, so it started at different times.
Started a little bit earlier, no problem at all. We'll find out more from Amber a little bit later on. But now what I'd like to do, just to get us into the webinar, is just find out about your top facts. And I know they're really exciting because I've already heard them. So Grace, tell me more. Tell me about your top fact.
Yeah, one of the things I was surprised to learn working at Sky is it's actually huge across Europe. We have offices in 6 different countries, and you've got an opportunity to work with people from Portugal, Italy, Switzerland, Austria, Belgium, and Ireland and the UK as well. It's really international, intercontinental across. So and there's a lot in India opening up as well.
So do you actually get to meet with other teams then in the other countries?
So my team is actually, we're spread across. We've got folk dialing in from Germany, Leeds, Ireland, Italy, and Portugal are joining us from next month.
I love the way you added Leeds there. Germany, Portugal, Leeds. Yorkshire girl, that makes me very happy, Grace. So thank you very much for putting in a Yorkshire name. So thank you, Grace. Matty, your key facts, please.
Yeah, so I was actually surprised to learn that there is such a huge environmental initiative across Sky, and we actually did save over 1 billion trees in the Amazon. So that's quite a big number that I thought was really surprising. And you can definitely see environment mentioned a lot across the company, and even across the way we do things. So sometimes there is incentives to shut down your machines like overnights to save more environment, and I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, love it. People are also always into the environment, sustainability. So really good thing to mention there, Matty. And Brian, you're staying with a similar thread, aren't you, about sustainability and the environment?
Yep, just on the same line. It came across when I was researching Sky. I learned that Sky became the world's first carbon neutral media company in 2006, and then we're aiming to be net zero carbon by 2030. And as Matty mentioned, it does show in how we work as a company and how overall even just the campus is designed around that. So our campus is carbon neutral currently.
Yeah. And
we even have a big windmill just standing in the middle of our campus, just there spinning for electricity.
I've always wanted to live in a windmill or a lighthouse, like a round house, but apparently it's a nightmare to fit. Don't know why I'm bringing that into this webinar. Thank you very much, Brian. And Amber, tell me more.
Yeah, so just to add on what Brian and Matty said, Sky Glass was the world's first carbon neutral TV to be launched. And you can really tell in the way that we work at Sky, we're really keen and encouraged looking after our environment. And just to add, like on all of our campuses, they're all completely plastic free. So we don't have products on campus which like we don't have plastic cups, plastic cutlery, etc.
Fantastic. A couple of you have mentioned the word campus as well, so we are going to delve a little bit more into that later on in the webinar. I think the campus vibe and the campus feel is something that Sky is really quite proud of in getting across, so we'll definitely cover that, because I think it makes the transition from the university side of things to the work side of things a little bit easier, having these campus environments. So before we go and meet the grads in more detail, find out more about their journeys, their projects and things like that, Rochelle, I'm going to loop back to you. Could you tell everybody who's watching a little bit more about the opportunities which are on offer at Sky?
Yes, sure. So currently we have a vast range of different graduate programs as well as internship programs, and we even offer apprenticeship programs too.
Yeah.
So I will start off with software, since that's my area.
Yeah, I knew you would.
So in terms of software, we do offer a software engineering graduate program.
Yeah.
Now with this program, it is 7 months in duration, and it starts off with a 5-week boot camp, followed by a 4-month educational project, and then the remaining 2 months will be spent working within a software delivery team, and that makes up the 7 months on the program. So once you have completed your program, you would then roll into the business in your permanent role. And then we also offer a DevOps engineering or site reliability engineering graduate program, which also follows the same pattern as the software engineering program. 7 months in duration, starting off with a 5-week boot camp, and as well as your educational project and working within a delivery team. And then alongside this, we also offer 2-year graduate programs which cover cybersecurity and technology. Now with these specific programs, they are rotational, and what this means is that it consists of completing 4 6-month rotations across the business, and this will really give you a chance to get a real feel of working in different roles. So you could be working as a Scrum Master, you could be working as a project manager, technical analyst, a developer, product owner, the list goes on. So there are so many opportunities available for you. And then just touching outside of software, we do also offer a program within finance. So it is a 3-year finance program on which you will actually be able to complete your CIMA qualification as well. And then we also have roles within data and analytics and business roles as well, covering change delivery and business strategy.
Perfect. I didn't know if you were taking a breath there or finishing, Rochelle. That's why I didn't want to dive straight in. So tell us a little bit more about this boot camp then. So a lot of you have, it's been mentioned a couple of times before as part of the webinar. You mentioned it's 5 weeks. So what is this boot camp? Is it, lots of training and development? Is it based on site? Where can it be based, and what does it include?
So in terms of the boot camp, it is primarily all about training. So what we like to do is, for our software and tech programs specifically, if you join one of those programs, you will start your course by completing that 5-week boot camp. Now, at the moment, since COVID hit a couple of years ago, we are running the boot camp virtually, but there will also be an opportunity for you to kind of come into the office and work within teams as well. So it will be a mixture of both in person, but mostly virtual. So we want to make sure that everyone is able to come in, start off on an equal playing field, where you'll be able to learn lots of new skills and just develop the core trainings that will allow you to join the business and be able to pretty much kick off really strong.
I bet it's really nice to get everybody together as well, everybody who's new, kind of in the virtually or physically in the same room at the same time, and so you can start building friendships and things like that. And last question to you, Rochelle, locations. So what locations, obviously Leeds, why would you not want to work there? And what are the other locations that the grads and students can be based?
So we have a number of different locations. So if we start off with our London locations, we have Osterley, which is located in West London. So that's pretty much our main headquarters, I like to say. And then we also have offices close by in Brentwood and in Brick Lane. And then, as you rightly mentioned, we do have offices in Leeds, and then we also have offices in Livingston. So that is Scotland. So we're stretched all across the country. And then as we are based in 6 other countries across Europe, we have offices elsewhere as well.
So as part of the graduate program, I lied to you about last question, definitely last question now. So as part of the graduate program, or when the grads have come off the graduate program, is there opportunity for international travel?
Yes, there is. So at the moment, even whilst you are on program, what you will find is that you will tend to work with a lot of the offices abroad. And within software, we're hoping this year with our new grads who come in, you will actually have the opportunity to also travel abroad as well. So that will be something new to try out there. So it's something that's available.
That'll be very exciting. Next year's webinar, then we're going to have some of those grads who've done all this international travel as well. But thank you very much for sharing. Thank you very much, everybody else, for introducing yourselves. So a bit of a tweak to this webinar this week. I know you're all familiar with the format and how we run these webinars, but Amber has to actually leave the webinar at 2:30. So what we're going to do is we're going to cram Amber and her journey into 10 minutes before we move on and speak to Matty and Grace and Brian in more detail. So Matty, Grace and Brian, watch this space. You're going to have to hang tight. Sophie and Amber, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Carla. So like Carla said, we're going to kick things off by talking to Amber about her journey so far. So starting off, Amber, what is your current role at Sky, and can you tell us a little bit more about what you do, the team you work in, and things like that?
Yeah, of course. So currently I'm an associate software engineer. And what that means is I'm working within a team which is heavily involved in the user experience and user interface for customers using our televisions and using our Sky products. So what you basically see on the TV is what my team will be involved in, creating a great customer experience and making it more easily available to use and personalized to customers. So the projects which I'm working on are heavily involved in implementing new really exciting features, some of which I can't actually talk about because they're not released yet.
Top secret.
Yeah. And that's one of the great things at Sky is even as a graduate, you're still heavily involved in such interesting and exciting new projects which are taking place. So I'd say that would be my main role, working on the customer experience for Sky users.
Right. And how long have you been in that particular team, Amber? Because I know you joined in July 2022. So how long have you been on this particular project?
Yes. So like Rochelle mentioned, at first I was on the boot camp and then my educational project. And now I've been on this project within this team for just over 2 months.
Just over 2 months. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're still technically on the graduate scheme right now, but I'm guessing you're coming towards the end of that 7-month period.
So I've pretty much rolled off the graduate scheme now, and I'm being fully implemented in my new team, working on really fun, exciting new projects.
Fab. Okay, I'm going to take a step back a little bit and just kind of come back to the projects. I know there's some top secret stuff that you can't tell me about, but when you're talking about user experience and looking at, improving the user experience for Sky customers, what sort of things will you be doing to kind of improve that process? How do you kind of think, oh, there's an issue here, we need to improve that? What sort of testing and things do you do to come to those sort of conclusions?
That's a really good question. So we actually work really closely with certain customer groups, and we're speaking to them often, finding out what they enjoy looking at in terms of what they want to see on the TV, what things which don't necessarily work. We're also a huge we want to be at the forefront of our competitors, so we're looking also at what they're doing and how we can provide that but even better. I also think the pandemic had a massive impact on the way we watch TV, the way we interact with other people. So it's creating an experience at home where you still feel like you are with other people, when in the pandemic we weren't. So that's massively influencing like how we're providing the best customer experience.
So have you had the chance to deal directly with the customers then to get their feedback on the user UX?
So a lot of it is so obviously as a software engineer we work closely with the business side of the team, like business side of the company, and those teams working in the business, as well as we call them like the product team. So the product team are the middlemen between the customers and us software engineers. So one thing which I've noticed about my team is we're very much involved in the product and as well working with the customer. Like, although I work as a software engineer, you do have like a massive input in speaking to those customers, as well as like the product and the business side.
I think that's a really interesting point, Amber, because I think often when you look at, you know, a software engineering scheme, you'd think, okay, I'm going to sit there coding all day. That's all I'm going to do. When actually what you've just said is you've had exposure to so many different groups of, you know, working with customers, but also working with different teams within the business and learning that business side of things and having the soft skills. So I think that's a really good point to raise about, just because you're on a technical scheme, there's so much sort of business knowledge that you're gaining alongside the technical skills as well.
And that's been really, really useful and important.
I bet, I'm going to take another step back here, because I do remember when you said that, you know, where you went to university, you studied biochemistry. And now you're a software engineer.
Yes.
So tell me about how you decided to go from biochemistry to software engineering.
So Sky offer a really fantastic course specifically aimed at getting more women into technology, and it's a 15-week course. So I did that in my spare time, because I feel like when I left university I was quite unsure as opposed to what I wanted to do career-wise, and so I enrolled on that course and I found something which I really enjoyed. I love the problem-solving aspect of software engineering. I love how fast-paced it is. And Sky gave me that exposure to something which I'd never done before. So I did that 15-week course, and then after the course I was given the opportunity to apply for the software engineering grad scheme, which I then did, and luckily I got the offer, which is why I'm here today. But
fantastic,
that's one of the great things at Sky, is they're not like, you don't have to come from a specific background in order to work here. Like I don't have a software engineering degree. I didn't do any computer science before doing that course. And they really, really encourage that. So that's something I want to really like reiterate to the audience, that if you haven't come from a computer science background and you're interested in any of the roles at Sky, like, don't let that hold you back, because Sky are very encouraging from like anyone from any background to come and join the company.
Fantastic. That is exactly what I hoped you were going to say, because it is an interesting mix, going from that different background coming into software engineering. But again, it's something that, you know, is great to hear that for Sky, you know, they want that different type of background to come in, teach you all the skills, and then, you know, you can kind of go off and be really successful in software engineering. So fantastic. It's an interesting journey. That's kind of why I wanted to delve a little bit more. So now that you've kind of finished the graduate program and you're working in the particular team, how did that transition work from going, okay, I've done my 7 months on the program and now I'm going to be working in this particular area? Was that somewhere where you were placed, or was that conversations with managers or mentors? How did that progression work?
So we had opportunity to go and shadow different teams, speak to different managers, find out a bit more about the company and the different areas which we could possibly work in. And then in terms of the transition, there's a huge amount of support in terms of like mentorships. Like, I did a lot of paired work at the beginning, because obviously I don't have any previous software engineering experience. So there was a lot of support in terms of like getting me up to speed in terms of understanding the code base and what they were doing. And one of the things which I noticed when joining Sky is, although you might feel like, oh, I'm a grad, like I don't know whether I should be talking to these people who are so high up, everyone is so friendly and willing to help you and talk about your career or things that you find interesting, and they're willing to find a space for you which is right. So they're very keen to like mold the work which you want to do like around your skills and what your aspirations are, I guess.
Brilliant. So it's very much a two-way conversation.
Yeah,
it's not
definitely.
This is what you're doing. It's
no.
You have a lot of input as well.
Yeah, you don't just get put somewhere. You you discuss your options and you have your choices, and then they try and work around those choices and put you in the best possible place for you.
Great stuff. So kind of looking to the future then, and how that might work from now onwards. Obviously you've just kind of come off that graduate program and you're in the particular team now, but what does the future look like? Where would you like to go moving forward from now?
So I guess for me it's quite specific in terms of I want to build more of my software engineering skills, and develop my career further as a software engineer, working on really new and exciting features. And I think one thing which definitely motivates me is the fact that I'll be in the future and working on new features which are going to be used and seen by millions of customers. So that is, I'd say, the key thing which I'm looking forward to in the future.
Great stuff. And in terms of the training then, I know kind of we've been touching upon the fact that you haven't got that background. How does the training work to get you kind of up to the level that you need to be a successful software engineer? How does that work in terms of technical training or whatever else you need? How is that supported?
So we have, in the boot camp was a huge support in terms of getting me up to speed with what the other grads are doing, and their background, as well as we had projects to work on. So the main thing with the boot camp is that it's like a 9-to-5 sort of teaching experience. And you're working on projects, you're solving different challenges and problems. And then even now, the learning doesn't stop. I don't think it ever really stops. You're still learning off senior software engineers. And everyone's very supportive in terms of finding the right time for you to learn. So they'll have afternoons where you can go and learn, work on personal projects. We have hackathons. So there's a huge amount done in terms of getting you the learning which you need to progress.
Fantastic. So it's kind of a mixture between, you going out and kind of speaking to the right people. There's formal training, there's informal training, there's all these things that come together to kind of help you progress.
Yeah, it's not just sat at a desk and you've got to try and learn. There's paired programming, there's teamwork, there's the hackathon days, there's time to work on personal projects. There's lots of different ways they try and implement the learning.
Fantastic. Thank you, Amber. Now I'm going to I know we've only got a couple of minutes before you need to disappear. So just finally, have you got any hints and tips that you could give to anyone who's currently looking to apply to Sky?
Yeah, I think the main thing is, if you're interested in working for Sky and you're worried that you don't have necessarily the right qualifications behind you, don't let that put you off at all. I'm sat here with a biochemistry degree, which is so unrelated to what I'm doing now. And also see that as a positive, because you bring certain skills from your degree which other people won't have, and you can then utilize those in this work setting. So I'd say that would be my main tip. Don't let anything put you off. And if you are really interested in working for Sky, I'd say have a look at the early careers website. There's so much information on there which really helped me find what I wanted to work, why specifically I wanted to work for Sky and why I knew that they were a company well suited for me. Because at the end of the day, it's a two-way thing. You need to be suited to Sky, but Sky also need to be suited to you.
Definitely. I think that's a good point, Amber. And I think a lot of students and graduates may not kind of think about that. It's a two-way conversation, this, are you going to be right? It's, it's for both of you. So thank you very much for everything you've told us today, and I will let you sneak off when you need to sneak off, but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Amber.
Thank you. So I'm going to come now and meet the rest of our graduates. I'm glad that you are back, Matty, because you disappeared for a second then, and now we've lost, Amber's gone. Great.
It's okay, we're all right.
I panicked then. I thought somebody else had gone. So I'm going to come around now and just kind of ask you all similar questions to what I've just been discussing with Amber, to find out a little bit more about your journeys. So Grace, starting with you, what is your current role at Sky, and can you tell us a little bit more about what you do in the team you work in?
So I'm on the technology grad scheme, which is the 2-year course, and there's 4 rotational placements you do. So I'm just finishing up my first placement, and my first placement has been in group observability. So I'm a monitoring engineer. And what that means, that's one of these jobs you tell people, and they're like, oh, oh.
You saw that puzzled look then, did you, Grace?
Sky is just an enormous company, and the amount of services that they offer. When you think about it, everyone knows the TV and the broadband, but we've also got all the kind of Sky News offerings, Sky Sports, Sky Bet, and all the other apps and things that we provide. So there's an enormous amount of data, and there's an enormous amount of systems running to support all of these. So my job is, what we do is we kind of take all the data that the other teams are monitoring in Sky and we put that into kind of one clear single pane of glass view, so that when something goes down at Sky, we aid with the incident management. You don't have to go and click into all these individual teams. It's kind of consolidating the data in one readable area.
Yeah. Wow, that must be a lot of data.
Unreal amount of data. You know, what's one of the things that really struck me when I joined Sky, and I kind of realised the actual scale of the amount of things Sky offers. It's unbelievable. And then you think about
as well, don't
Sky
you?
Arts and all that as well. Like they run TV channels and movies and mental.
So did you do a lot of data analysis? I know obviously you said that with the Open Uni course that you did, it was you selected what modules. Did you do a lot of data analysis as part of that?
A little, not millions. So I had done like small sections of classes, but I hadn't done a dedicated class to it before, but I was very interested in it. So with our rotations, you're allowed to pick your own, and you can go and talk to managers and find out where you want to go. So I've already set my next one up, but I saw this one and I saw the amount of data and I thought, that sounds brilliant. I want to get
amazing. No, that's fantastic. And like you said, you do forget that the breadth of things that Sky are involved in. You know, we look at Sky and we think Sky TV, but like you said, the breadth is phenomenal. And you know, having the experience to work with that amount of data in your first placement must set you up really well for any future placements that you're going to go.
Yeah, like I mean, there's virtually no teams in Sky Technology that don't come into contact with us. So you've got a huge network. Just
great place to start. Good choice. Okay, I'm going to come next to you, Matty, just to find out a little bit more about your current role and what you do and the team you work in.
So I currently, as Brian said, I'm on the same team as Brian doing the graduate DevOps scheme. And I think this year it got a little bit revamped. So it's a very unique opportunity. We are a team of consisting only of grads and of apprentices. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's 12 graduates and 2 apprentices only, which it has its opportunities, right? I think the stuff we do within our team, it would mostly be done by principal engineers in many other companies, or seniors at the very least. Whereas here we get guidance from other teams and other principal engineers. We kind of have that network within our department, but we actually do the things ourselves, such as, for example, setting up our whole cloud architecture. That was that was all on us, the graduates. So it's interesting. We also work within sort of a observability department. So we monitor data. However, we monitor how many people watch which show on Now TV. So more specifically in that department. We make dashboards, drawing the data and displaying the data, which gets passed up to the higher ups. We make systems, monitor systems to check whether those dashboards are healthy all the time, whether they capture data 24/7, and this then I presume gets passed on to higher ups to make business decisions however they're needed. And it's, I think, as I mentioned, this is the first year where the scheme has kind of taken that direction. It's the first year, so we had to set up everything from scratch. And our manager himself, he used to be a grad 4 or 5 years ago. So he kind of taken the initiative. He wanted to go more into managing, and he thought a team full of grads would be a good idea. And so far, I think it really is.
Oh, fantastic. That's quite a different setup to anything I've kind of come across before. I don't know whether you can kind of expand on, you know, the thinking behind, you know, why set up a team that's purely grads and why in DevOps specifically?
Well, I think the idea is, as is often explained to us, DevOps is more of a culture rather than something you do. It's sort of how you work, and the idea of DevOps is you are in charge of developing the solutions and the operations behind it, so deploying them, and so you basically monitor the full cycle of development, right? You from writing the code to deploying it to maintaining it. And the idea, I guess, was our whole department contains 28 teams, and after our 7 months kind of educational projects, we can move into any of them. I think that's the idea. So within the 7 months, we do some networking around the office. We talk to managers of other teams, see what they do, see what interests you the most, and then you can set up a request to be moved to that team after the manager of our current team thinks you're ready. So I think it is a really, really unique opportunity. And to add to that, half of our team is from a non-technical background. I think, might be wrong here. Our manager did this deliberately, and he said he wanted half the team to be from a technical and half team to be from non-technical backgrounds for the diversity of thought. And that is also interesting. So the bootcamp to begin with, it caught everyone up. So it was more of a refresher to those who have done computer science at university, for example. And then the rest, non-technical people, they got exposure to those things we use at work. So it was more of a real good catch up for them.
Brilliant. Thank you, Matty. Now, I know that Brian is in the same team as you, so I don't want to steal all of his thunder, because there's a few things that I could ask you, but I'm going to move over to Brian now. So Brian, is your role exactly the same as Matty's, or can you give us, a little bit of an overview of what you do?
Well, I think it's the same program. I'm part of the same program, so the same graduate associate SRE/DevOps program. I mean, I kind of work with Matty every day on a day-to-day basis. But I think there's a huge highlight on the fact that since we're working from everything from scratch, we work on different parts of the specific projects that we can further explain later on. Great. But it's the fact that since we're starting from scratch, we have the opportunity to decide how we want to do stuff, and we can fail really fast. Our manager always says, fail fast, you'll learn, because it's since half of our team, as Matty mentioned, is half non-technical and technical. Obviously, the technical people might have some opinion on how we should do some things, but and obviously to teach those also to the non-technical people, where, well, we're doing this decision simply because this would happen and it would benefit us for XYZ reasons. I think I can elaborate a bit more on what the work we kind of do. It's more behind the scenes. So compared to AMBA, most of the work won't typically be seen by the public eye. And we're kind of the backbone of Sky. So I think, as Grace mentioned, we do have a team similar to Grace's, where we gather a lot of data for specifically to TV shows and any kind of episodes that's going through. I think so.
In terms of how obviously you've got control of how you do your day-to-day work, but how does it work in terms of the projects coming in? Where's that decided from? What projects you're actually going to work on?
So our manager has propositions from the rest of the department. So when we started, we only had one project to work on, just a small, something to get started on. So everyone gets ready, everyone starts to understand how our projects work. And then we were proposed 2 different projects. And half of our team went to one project, and the other half went to the project that Matty and I are working on. And these are actually key projects that are actually needed in the department. And there's real life applications for this. It's not just, oh, well, once you've done with this, we'll just throw it on the side. No one's going to use it. This will be used in the department to further enhance how the efficiency of the department. And I think both projects, we can talk a bit later about the projects, but they're kind of a whole different area. They work in 2 different areas. And we had the choice to choose between if I wanted to focus specifically on one specific area or the other area.
Fantastic. So again, there's a lot of input from you about what you want to do, and starting off at such an early stage in your career as well. So that's brilliant. I don't want to steal your thunder, although I'm dying to find out what these projects are. I'm going to come back to Grace, talk about your projects a little bit more, and then come back to Brian and Matty to talk a little bit more about theirs. So Grace, can you tell me about some of the things? I know we've touched upon what you're doing day to day right now, but can you tell me about some of the any other projects, or in more detail about the current projects that you're working on?
Well, the project that I work on mainly is in observability. So there's a couple of teams in my department, and when I joined, they gave me a kind of a choice of where I would like to go in those teams. And I wanted to go into this new observability team because it was a team that had just been assembled, and the project was starting 3 days after I joined the department. So I really wanted to get in on something that was kind of from ground zero. You know, getting to build something from scratch is great, and then also we were all learning together. So it was an experience for everyone to go on the training at the same time. What mine does is, as Brian mentioned, they have an observability team, and then every team at Sky kind of does monitor their own kind of work. There's 300 monitoring solutions in progress at Sky just now. And my team, what we do is we're building an overarching system. So we take the data from all of them and we're putting it into a software called Grafana, and kind of design dashboards that take data from all these different sources so that you can view things at the same time, and you can correlate stuff, and you can do instant management, and you can make business decisions without having to have like 15 different dashboards open. You've got one clean one that brings information from everywhere.
So how have you found working with this new this program? Because I'm assuming you probably didn't have any experience in that beforehand. Absolutely. So is that the training that you went on that you mentioned at the beginning? How have you kind of been brought up to speed to utilize this properly?
Yeah, so one of the great things about joining this project just as it starts is that the whole team had to go on training courses to learn how to use this. So we all went together. It was all virtual because my team, as I mentioned at the start, are so spread out across the entirety of Europe, really. So we got different kind of experts from Grafana and from observability, other consultants and stuff like that, who sat us down and they did various webinars. And then we also had a bit of time to just kind of like explore the software ourselves, get a bit of hands-on experience with it. Because it's a brand new project, there's a lot of like innovation that's going on with it. So not everything I do is all about delivery. It's also sometimes look at the machine learning explorations, like what can we do with this? Have a look at this solution, can we integrate that? And you just get a bit of time to play with it and investigate and watch webinars. I love it. Of course, so it's great fun for me.
No, it sounds really interesting being involved in something right from the beginning. And how long do you envisage this project taking? If you could put...
This project, it's going to go on for several years.
I thought it might do.
We have to onboard all the teams individually. So I've been involved in the MVP launch for 3 teams just now. They are all kind of based, there's 2 based in Scotland and 1's based in Germany. And then we're, you know, having a kind of rolling integration with the other teams. So I'm sure we'll get to Brian and Matty eventually. But unfortunately, I'm actually coming to the end of that rotation. So I've been there for 5 months and we've got 3 teams onboarded in that time.
Fantastic. So it's going to be something that, you've started it, but it's going to be going on for many, many years to come. So what's the plan next then, Grace? I know you said you're just going to the end of that. So where are you planning to go on your next rotation?
So I really enjoy doing a bit of programming, a bit of software dev. So because I knew I wanted to do that, I reached out to one of the teams that I've met through monitoring and was like, hello, would you like to add? So I'm going to do a Java dev role next, and in Livingston we tend to work mostly on internal software for Sky rather than customer facing software. So it's developing like wee microservices that we can slot into various internal software solutions.
To improve like internal processes rather than it being
and you know, software that maybe the call center use or your service engineers, that kind of thing.
Brilliant. Okay, so 2 really interesting projects just in the first, well, it'll be the first 12 months by the time you finish that project, won't it? But also quite different. And also I like how you said that, you know, you were proactive about that. You had met this team as part of your current role and you thought, you know what, that looks interesting. I'm going to go and have that conversation. But it also shows just how receptive other people at Sky are to bringing new people into the team and, you know, giving you the opportunity to move around the business. So I think that's always a really, really good tip for students is, you know, you've got to go out and get it. You know, you've got to be proactive in your career. And I think you've just kind of proven that that's a really good idea. And also that Sky is obviously an organisation that really wants you to do that as well. So thank you so much, Grace. Right, I'm going to come back to Brian and Matty now to hear about this project that you've been working on. I don't know whether you both want to kind of tell me a little bit about it, or whether Matty, you want to start telling me about it and Brian can tell me a little bit more, because obviously you're working on the same thing. So I don't want to steal both of your thunders. So
I think since we're working on kind of 4 projects, I'll talk about 2 and I'll give Brian the other 2 so you can
fantastic.
talk about
Right,
great. Right, so one of our, first one I kind of mentioned already was the cloud architecture, how we had to set everything up from scratch. And when I say in many other places, this would already be in place, or a senior or a specific infrastructure team would be looking at that. We had to do a whole lot of research as to what to do, even how to do it. And we finally, after about a month, get into the process of building it. So we have something on there. We deployed our application, and that's available under an internal address. So that's a good beginning, but there is a whole lot of things to do with security, which, well, before starting work in industry, it was just, security was kind of on my second mind. I didn't really think that much about it, but as it turns out, it has to pass all the tests, pass all unit tests, all the protocols. So that is definitely an experience.
Definitely.
So there's been self and another team member of ours, another fellow graduate, who have been kind of doing that cloud infrastructure. And it has no set deadline, although, well, the better it's, the earlier it's on, the better, obviously, since we can then make progress on all the other applications we're building. So that's kind of taken my priority at the moment, and that's going to take a solid couple of weeks. And then what our manager did is he wants us to have exposure on multiple cloud vendors. So whereas we're working on Google Cloud at the moment, for learning purposes, other team members will have a go at Amazon Web Services, which is the biggest cloud provider. And that's kind of, I guess, the big motto of our team. We're given those projects with a specific learning outcome in mind. So our manager handpicks them, and he has a lot of propositions, but he handpicks especially the ones that will help us in specific areas. And he knows all of us by now, right? So he knows all 14 of us, and he knows what we kind of like, what we're lacking. So it's all very tailored towards us, and I feel that's very unique as well. From a perspective of a graduate scheme, it's very thoughtful. I was skeptical at first because it's his first year managing, and I thought, he's trying to oversell things, but he's really not, and it's been a huge success so far. So it's definitely, if you consider applying for DevOps at Sky, it's a great experience. And then the second project was actually our introductory project. As Brian said, we had one to begin with. It's just it's a web page for our entire department. And we don't have much traffic on there at the moment, but we're trying to bring more stuff to it. So Brian right now is trying to introduce, our manager recorded a documentary series of interviewing people from around the department, getting to know everyone. It's very culture heavy, so half of our department is focused on work, and the other half, they say it's equally as important to have that culture around. There's a lot of socials, there's a lot of activities to get involved in within the department. So one of those is the initiative to have a documentary series, and that'll be hosted on the website. But of course, we have to facilitate so that the videos can go on the website and it's consistent with our designs of the website. That's a key thing as well. Our department looks at just making sure everything looks professional, making sure everything looks crisp and clean. And there is, I heard, many more ideas proposed for that website, even from a manager's manager. He has some grand plans which he wants to overhaul the entire website, and I have a faint feeling that or the next intake of grads will be looking at that. So that's pretty exciting.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's such a range of technologies that you just mentioned to be exposed to in the first 7 months. Well, not quite 7 months of being at Sky. There's lots and lots of different things. And like you said, that your manager looks at you and says, okay, you're a bit weak there, so I'm going to give you a project that's involving this technology to get your skills better. I mean, that's a really, really individually tailored scheme, isn't it, to kind of make sure that your skills are really improved.
It really is.
So that's,
I guess also, if I want to add something, I guess DevOps is sort of focused on having a broad range of technologies, so that a little bit of everything. So having those projects, I guess, where you know a bit of design and JavaScript, so the front end and the back end, featuring programming languages such as Python and Go, and everything in between. It's just part of, I guess, a DevOps engineer skill set, and they really try and push those onto you so that, well, you're as good a DevOps engineer as you can be. And they're doing, again, a pretty good job at that. So
it sounds like it. Brilliant. Thank you, Matty. Brian, coming over to you to find out a little bit more about the projects that you've been involved in, please.
Yep. So as Matty mentioned, well, we had 2 projects that were offered to us, and Matty and I work on Checkup. So it's a system that we're developing from scratch, and it replaces an existing system, a legacy system, and it encompasses essentially engineers that have to do weekly checks manually currently. And our whole goal, essentially, our end outcome, is to replace it with an automated version of those checks and make it more user-friendly.
Yeah.
And this is where Matty is coming from with diversity of technologies. So at the beginning, we were given the choice of whichever technologies we wanted to use. So since we're making essentially a whole system, we had to take into account, I think, the front end, so what the users would see, the back end, so anything that goes under the hood of the website, how are we giving this data, how are we saving this data, and the cloud engineering, the cloud architecture, so how are we deploying this website and making it accessible to the rest of the teams. I think one of the 3 key things that Matty and I did in essentially for the past few months was reverse research and investigation. So we network a lot with other teams, and we research and work with them to see how they do their checks and what kind of issues they're facing, and if there's any concerns from them, and how we could improve their systems so it makes it easier on them. And after that, well, obviously we have to do we get to the development, and it's where we're able to both dip our toes a bit everywhere. So I've done front-end development before, a tiny bit just as a free time, but since my manager saw, well, you could just go a bit more into backend because, well, you've never touched backend in the past. So I'm now doing a bit of front end and more significantly more work into the backend. And alongside that, we also have some DevOps related work with how we want to manage our cloud architecture. So even initially, I worked on designing the overall cloud architecture, and Matty is responsible for deploying it. So even though we're on the same team, we're always working on different topics at the same time. And at the end of the day, we can just brief together. We're like, oh, I've done this. And like, oh, okay, can you explain how you've done this? And like, okay, this works this way. And I think there's a really strong culture of sharing this knowledge.
Definitely.
So it's just there's people that might not know about something specifically, and we ensure that they're up to the same level as us at the end of the day. I
think that's a lovely thing that, you know, although you are all graduates, you're all learning from each other as well as, you know, more senior people in the business. And I think that's a great attitude to have just generally where, you know, in your working life, is that, you know, people the same level will know things that you don't know, people younger than you will know things that you don't know, as will senior people. And just having that attitude to, you know, not be afraid to go and ask anybody, okay, what are you working on? What does that mean? I don't know anything about that, is going to stand you in really, really good stead throughout your career. So I think that's a great culture that you've already got at such a sort of early level. I'm going to move away a little bit now from kind of the technical aspects. And I know you've both touched upon about, you know, how you're going to decide about going to your next project, you know, where you go after the scheme, you know, by the exposure that you've had so far. And, you know, similar to the way that Grace has approached her next rotation, you guys have both mentioned that you've kind of been scoping that out all the way through your time at Sky so far. But you did touch upon, Matty, about social events and different than socials that you've got within your department. Can you tell us a little bit more about what types of things outside of work you can get involved in at Sky?
Yeah, no, there's plenty. So we have within our department, or within the wider department, the one consisting of 28 teams, we have a weekly football with goals pitches just outside of campus. So it's like a nice 5-minute walk at lunchtime. And that's all paid for by Sky as well. So every week we go there, and the nice thing is it's encouraged, right? It's not like you feel you're missing work because you're going to have fun and play football. it's actually very much encouraged by the department to have that healthy work-life balance. So
Yes.
I do that every week, and it's so nice to meet people there. Even the principal engineers, they are, they're kind of getting involved in that as well. So it's meeting, as I think Amber said, that you don't really feel the hierarchy at Sky. It's more of, if you want to ask something, anyone, the head of department, principal engineer, they will come back to you, and they'll be more than happy to help. And even that kind of most equality of playing football together, it just kind of empowers that. And there is plenty of other things. Brian does a lot of photography. I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, tell us about that,
Brian. So at the beginning of the program, I showed a bit of interest in content creation / photography, videography, and my manager immediately just reached out to me, and he told me, well, if you're interested in taking pictures, taking videos. He originally was the pioneer of it, so he kind of passes down the torch down to me now, where I'm basically taking pictures of events, filming videos around the campus, and that's all part of some culture goals that we have individually. And I've just been able to take pictures whenever at big events. I think it's a running joke with Matty where some people asked Matty and pointing at me that, oh, does this man actually work at Sky, or is he just a photographer?
We should add, it's all encouraged, right? So it's not like Brian to take pictures. It's all very much encouraged, and Brian really much, I'd imagine, likes it. And also worth adding that it's events that we as grads organize now. We got pass the torch on that, so to say, where we are the ones to have monthly socials for the entire department. We find we have some budget, and we find places to book for around 30-ish people, and then we have those every month. So it's all part of work. So I was telling the higher ups, I don't know if I'm gonna have enough time, etc. I'm a bit busy after work, but they said no worries, do it within your work hours. It's all part of the healthy working initiative, and it's well encouraged by everyone.
No, I think that's lovely. And, there's so many things that you've touched upon there, from, the football to the photography, that's something that, Brian, you're already interested in, that's been encouraged. And then, like you said, Matty, about it being encouraged to do it, within work time, because it's so important to have that balance. And it's great to hear that Sky is supporting that. Grace, I'm going to really quickly come to you just to find out a little bit more about, any sort of social activities or anything different that you've been involved in as well. And I know Carla's burning me with her eyes, because I know
me and Michelle have got a lot to talk about.
I know, but I've got carried away, haven't I? So yeah, Grace, could you just tell us, your experience with the social side of things at Sky?
Yeah, so quickly, some of the I'm very close with the other grads in my year. We did the boot camp, and we came into the office for quite a lot of it, and we got on really, really well. Sky did a good job at picking 4 similar people. So we're also close with the other grads, and we do a lot of kind of inter-year grad socials. So we're going to go play mini golf in 2 weeks.
Oh, lovely! Yeah,
by Sky, which is pretty cool. We do a lot of kind of like sporty kind of things. We did like ping pong and stuff like that, and there's talk that the kind of in the future ones we're going to do some football ones. Ice hockey's been shouted, and so has like shuffleboard and stuff like that, darts. So there's lots of things that way. I'm also really involved in kind of like STEM outreach stuff.
Great.
So something that I really wanted to kind of get involved in, having had a kind of non-traditional route to a grad scheme myself, having come to Open University, was to kind of get out into schools and talk about the wide range of routes that you can take to go into a tech and software engineering career. So Sky gives you volunteer days. You get 2 volunteer days. I've had way more than that already. I've only been here since August, and I must have used probably about 10.
Wow.
So you get loads of chance. Next week I'm going to go out to some local schools, and we do kind of like bridging the gap for like interview skills. So for students who are in households where they maybe not got a lot of other people in their family or in their network who've done kind of professional interviews, it's about coaching for like interview skills for that. We reach out and we bring schools into Sky Up, which is an academy where the schools get a shot to like, they come in and they use all the Sky tech and they shoot their own wee like news video. and it gets all the Sky graphics on top of it, and then they all get like the wee lanyard and the QR code. So there's loads of great stuff that you can get involved in terms of outreach and volunteering.
Fantastic. Thank you, Grace. That all sounds amazing. But yeah, I know Carla has got a few bits to finish off with Rochelle, but yeah, thank you so much. It was fantastic hearing about all your journeys.
Stop talking. Rochelle, sorry, you'll have to excuse my colleague Sophie. She gets very giddy and very exciting, but I understand why, because your grad stories have been absolutely amazing. Rochelle, how do people apply? What is the recruitment process? Tell us more.
So in terms of the recruitment process, how it works is, first and foremost, all you need to do is go into our website. What you can do is, if you go to our Gradcracker Hub, you'll be able to find out more information about each of the programs that we have available, and you'll be able to apply directly through there. So once you click on the link, you will simply be asked to provide some personal details and some of your educational details. So the good news is that we don't ask for a CV at all. We don't need a CV or a cover letter. So once you've entered in your personal details and some of your educational details, you would then begin the process. So our entire application process is digital, and you will start off by completing what we refer to as an OIA, which is an online immersive assessment. Now, with this particular assessment, the main aim is really for us to kind of test your Sky fit. So we want to see if you match up with the company, and also if the company is something that's right for you, which Amber did mention earlier. So there'll be a lot of immersive activities that you will complete as part of the assessment. And then after you completed the OIA, you will then move on to complete a coding test. Now, in terms of the coding test, this is specific for our software engineering program and our DevOps program alone, since they are quite specialized areas. So we would need to just kind of have a look at your coding skills and get an understanding of where you're at. So you need to complete that coding test. And then after the coding test, next is our job simulation. So with this digital assessment, it's similar to the first one, which was the OIA. But with this one, it will really kind of give you an idea of what it will be like to come into the working world. You'll be presented with some real life scenarios, and you'll be able to kind of record yourself answering questions. So again, there'll be a number of different mixed medias that you will complete for that particular assessment. Then after the job sim, if all goes well, you would then be invited to our assessment center, and that is the final stage. Now with the assessment center, it pretty much works as paired activities that you'll complete. So at Sky, we're all about teamwork. It's something that we encourage. And so you would be paired up either in a small group or with another candidate, and you'll work together on a project. I can't reveal that. But what I will say is that it's definitely fun. It's something that you'll come in, you'll learn, and it's something that I always tell all the candidates to just make the most of the experience overall. So it's not something, we don't want you to be stressed. We want you to really enjoy the whole experience. And so once you finish the assessment center, should everything have gone well, we would then look to make you an offer for one of our graduate programs.
And the graduate programs, do they all start in July and August, and like the grads who we've met today, or the different start dates as well?
So there are a number of different start dates for our graduate programs. So for example, with the software engineering program, we will actually have some start dates in July and also September. And then for DevOps engineering, you would look to begin in August, so it would be summer. And that's also the same for cybersecurity and technology. So all of the programs tend to start during the summertime. So from July till September, really, that's the period of time when you would look to begin your graduate program.
Fantastic. And all the start dates are on the hub anyway. So when you go and have a look at the different opportunities, you can see all the start dates there. So thank you, Rochelle. Any hints and tips then? I know you've been doing this quite a while now. So you'll have seen quite a lot of grads coming through the process. So any specific hints and tips that you want to give our students as a bit of an insight on this webinar?
Sure. So what I would say is, number one, I know it sounds like just so simple, but it is. It all starts with preparation. Okay?
Yes.
So as you would do for any interview, anywhere you go, research Sky. Okay, take a look at our company, even if it's a case of going onto our website, find out what we do and have a look at our company values. That's something that I would say is really important. Find out what our company values are, and also see if our values match up with your own personal values, because you want to be able to go into a workplace where you'll feel comfortable and you'll also be able to kind of understand and just have that alignment there. So definitely take a look at our values. And as I said, do your preparation and your research. Another tip I would give is when it comes to selecting your program, if you're not entirely sure on which program to go for, we do have a number of tools available. So for example, on our website, the Early Careers website, we have something called a program matcher. So with this, you'll be presented with a number of different questions, pretty much questionnaires, and it will give you a selection of suggestions of programs that would be best suited to you. So if you kind of need somewhere to start, but you're not too sure, definitely have a look at the program matcher, and that will kind of give you an idea to start. We also run a number of insight events throughout the year.
We do,
Now, with these insight events, we normally tend to cover more information about each of the programs. So again, if you kind of have an idea or you're not too sure, come along to one of the insight events. We have been running some virtually, and we also have some in person. We've also run some in person this year as well. So you'll have the opportunity to attend one or the other. So come attend the events, find out more. Feel free to ask any questions that you have, and just really prepare yourself by gaining that knowledge to help you make an informed decision on where you would like to go next in terms of your career path. And then the other thing I would say, this one more tip, is be yourself. So it's really, really important to us. So I'm hoping that you've realized from this webinar today that all of the grads, everyone has a different background and different experience. Okay. We are not necessarily we're not looking for just the same person. Everyone is unique, and you will bring something of value to the teams and to the business. So honestly, I can't stress enough, just be yourself. And we want to get to know you and hope that you are the right person for Sky, and we would also be able to make you happy joining the business. So those are a few of my top tips.
They are very good top tips as well, Michelle. So thank you very much. I think it is worth noting that, I've worked with Sky for a number of years now, and it is all about the person. They can teach you the skills. You've got that fantastic boot camp right at the beginning of your graduate journey at Sky. So it's definitely worth, being yourself, like Michelle said, and having a look. Make sure you mention this webinar. This is something that it's another form of research. I know we've had a bit of a giggle and learned about all the grads' journey. But hopefully this will give you a bit of an insight about which scheme that you might want to apply to as well. And these are why we host these webinars, because they are so insightful, and it's kind of straight from the grads and Rochelle's mouths as well. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Amber, who's no longer here, but you all have been absolutely fantastic. As Rochelle and I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, the opportunities are still open on the Sky Hub on Gradcracker, but there are some closing dates pending mid-Jan, so around about the 22nd of January. So make sure you get your applications in sooner rather than later. This webinar, if you've missed any bits, or if you just want to look at the snippets, they will all be live either this afternoon, or the snippets will be live on Monday. So check out the Sky Hub to kind of go back and re-listen to what you've already listened to and watched today. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Next week, we're joined by Experience. So we hope to see you then, same time, same place, 2:00 on Thursday. But for now, thank you, Sky. Good luck for your futures. And we'll see you all next year when you've done all your international tours and everything else. You've got loads more to tell us. So thanks, everybody. And we'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.